Now is it part 2 of my this telling you about my life and how it come that I was chosen by God. I was not called by God. I was chosen, and there was no other way to do it. I was on my way to make a suicide, so there were only one way to go. I couldn't choose anyway. I couldn't pick it because God come and took me, and it doesn't matter what I should decide of, because I didn't have any will anymore, and it happened. I It's not that I not have heard God earlier in my life, because I was 16 years old when I was working to take care of children in a family, and one of the kids was sick, and I have to go to the hospital with her, and when I come in to the children's area at the hospital, there was a girl sitting in her room and in a bed, and she was saying in Swedish, "Hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye." And the nurse that come and met us and took the little girl to the doctor, she said that I should not be worried about that girl that was sitting and saying like that. She said that the nurse was saying that this girl was sitting and saying this the whole time, the whole day long. But you should not be worried, because this girl can't walk. So she can't walk out from her room and go to you. She said, to calm me down. When she saw that I look in the room, I was not scared, but she saw that I was looking at the girl, and because the girl was in the same age as me, so I was wondering why she was sitting and say this. I have never been worried and scared about mental sick people or people that have some error in their brain, so they act and talk differently. That have never bothered me. And I have one woman here where I live now. Where I live, there we have a house where there is mental sick, light mental sick people and low intelligent people. And there is a woman. Yesterday she passed by my house, and most of the time she is walking by herself, and she walk strange. She walk that you can tell she is disabled in her mind, because it doesn't say that they are disabled in the body. The mental sickness in the brain can make them walk differently, act differently. So if they be okay in the brain, they can look like us when they're walking. It's the brain that does it on them. And I have been a nurse, and I have deal with these people, and I know that most of them is not the way in their brain. So I always say hello to her, and she only smile at me when I say that. And yesterday she come with a caregiver that walked with her, a young girl, and I heard her, this woman from far away, and she was talking very loudly and screaming with a sound, and it was no words. You couldn't hear what she was saying. She was only screaming. And then comes she closer to me, and I say hello. I say to her, and she say hello, hello. She say, and then she act normally. And the caregiver, she didn't understand these things. So she looked at me and she looked at that woman that she thought was total away with her brain. But I know that if you only talk to people that sounds and are like mental sick in some way, if you only talk to them, very often the brain kick in, and they can talk like a normal person to you. It's the brain that is working in error in the brain. But if someone, you know, with the tics things also, that you can clap something, do something that shake up the brain, and they wake up and they are normal for a time, and then the brain go back to the same confusing things. So that was I was so I was not worried about this girl that was in the hospital. And the nurse said that I should sit in the waiting room, and she took the girl to the doctor. And when I sit in the waiting room, and that is also a key word, you know, waiting room, you sit and relax. And in that way, the devil make us be stressed and full of things we must do, but we don't need to do it, but we feel like we must do things so very much and act in a special way, and all this stress. It's the devil that doesn't want us to have connection with God, to break between God and us, so God can't talk to you. So I was sitting there, and it was no magazine to look at, and I only sit and wait. And then suddenly I heard God talking to me, and I knew that it was God that was talking to me, even if I have not heard him. But maybe I have heard, I remember how his voice sounded from the past, maybe from the life before, the life in heaven, because I react, I act on His word immediately, because God say to me with His real male voice, commanding voice, but not angry voice. It's only that you do it like this. So He said that I should go into that girl that was sitting and saying this, hello, goodbye. So I went into that girl, and she saw me coming into the room, and she said, come and sit with me. And she showed me that I should sit on the side of her, and I was sitting on her left side, and she said that to me, that she took my hand and she said, hold your hand on my skull, she said to me. And I did it, and I felt it was no skull there. It was not hard. It was like a jelly I hold in. And she said, I was in a car accident, she said, and my parents died, she said, and I am. And she was so sad in her voice, and she said, now am I alone in the whole world, she said to me. And then I heard that the nurse was coming out from the doctor room. So I walk away from that girl, and then I go in the hall down to the nurse to get that little girl. And the nurse have the little girl in her hand, hold her in her hand, and in the other hand she had papers from the doctor. And suddenly the nurse was screaming, and she threw out all the paper in the air, and she screaming, it's a miracle, it's a miracle, it can't happen, it's a miracle. So she was screaming so loudly, so the doctors and nurse was coming out from all kind of rooms and wondering why she was screaming. So when they come out, I turn around I had hold the hand of the little girl, and I turn around with her and look behind me, and behind me there come that girl that couldn't walk. She come, and all the nurses and doctors, they were around her. So I took only the little girl by her hand and walk away from it, because I felt like it was not me that did the healing. I felt like someone else had done it and not me. So that was the first healing I did that I remember, but thinking about what I have done, have it been some healings without I knew that I had a gift of healing. And I was working one summer with the people that have one man was blind, and one day he could see again, and one woman was sitting in a wheelchair, and she could only move around with one hand, one arm, so she could write on a paper what she should say, but she couldn't speak. and I took that woman out and for a shopping, and when we were out shopping, I told this woman, because she was like I think she did it by herself. I don't think that the brain did it, but she did stupid things to make me be embarrassed. She could pinch a man in his butt, for example, and the man turned around and looked at me like I pinched him. And she was laughing about it because the man saw that this woman is disabled, so she cannot pinch me in the butt. It must be she that hold the wheelchair that did it like that, and he thought that was very fun. And then when we were shopping, she only took things into her shopping basket, and I told her, if you lay down products in the shopping basket, you have to pay for it. I said to her, so she took the products back again. And then I say to her that you have to choose what you want for a bread. You have to pick it by yourself, I say. It's your money. So I force her to think. I force her to work with her brain. Without I didn't knew it in that time because I was not educated in psychology, but I did it. It was natural for me, and today I think it was more like a spirit make me do these things, and then those other people that was working with this woman say that her brain have started to change. They say to me in the day after, they say that the whole night she was screaming because she has so much pain in her body, and I know it was because the brain started to work. It started to heal on her. And so I did things that I didn't understood, that because I was 16 years old when this happened at the hospital, but I forget it because I felt like it was not me that did the healing. So I didn't take it in to remember. So I did many things, and one time I was in the car, and a voice said to me that I should change the side of the car to sit on the other side of the car. The voice was saying to me, so I did it. I don't know why I react immediately on what I hear from there, and when I changed the side of the car, it was another car that come in and crash in that side where I were sitting for some second ago. So I should have been maybe killed or got very much damage on my body. So some things happened to me, but I was not in a relationship with God. I didn't know Him. I didn't know the Bible. I didn't know, and then I had men that as I was abused as a child, and and I was told that I had no will, that I was like a tool for everyone, and I didn't have any protection, and I come to be together with a man that used this, abused me in mental way. So they were very evil to me, and he put a knife on me, and my son's father put a knife on me and say he should kick me out from the balcony, 10th floor up, and he was nice when people was around, but when the door was closed, he was evil to me. And you know it. You have been in that situation. You also. It's kind of. It's sad to say it's kind of normal, but it is. These evil people, they hide. It's not. It's more than half of all these evil people that hide and manipulate people around them, so they change it, so people think it's the victim's fault. It's the victim that have this fault, why you break up and why you will be hurt. They make it. It's a psychopath. These people, manipulated people and narcissist people, they can. They are very smart, many of them, and they can change the way how people look at you, so they don't look at him or her. They look at the victim. That is the victim arrow, that they must do something to trigger this person to go angry like that. And so I had this kind of men in my life, because I didn't know why they did it, but it was something that triggered them to be together with me. I had no heart to get a man in my life, and I in the beginning I was very shy, because I was abused at home of most of my brother, so I was scared about men, and but then one day I decided that I should not be scared of men anymore. I decided it, and in that time I got a friend that was 4 years older than me, and she had boyfriends, and she do sexual things. So I decided to not be frightened about men. So it's fun that I met a man that he looked very nice. He looked very kindly, and I decided that he will be the one, and I kiss him. That was the first kiss of a man I did. That was not of force. My brother kissed me many times, but this was my choice. I did it. I decided to kiss him, or allowed him to kiss me. And then some hour later, I decided to have sex with him. It was not he that wanted it. It was me that wanted to take that step. I was saying to myself, either will you be sitting at home for the whole life, alone, and not have any children, nothing, or else you take the step and be open to a man. So I decided me to change, and so I did it. But as I didn't have any reference of how a man should be, because my father was not there in the family, he was out and drinking the whole time. I never saw him sober one day in his life, more than when he was in the hospital. And when I come and visit him in the hospital for in rehab, or he had sepsis, blood poisoning sometimes, and when I go to meet my father at the hospital, I didn't recognize him. He was so totally different. It was not my father. My father was the drinking man. It was not the sober man. So I didn't have the reference of how a man should look like, act like, not look like, but act. And I also have a phobia about things that a man should not have, because my father abused me, and he had very much bald. He had very much body hair all over. The chest was full of hair, and I didn't like when he touched me. He touched me in the way that a father should not touch his child, and he wanted to kiss, and it was so sharp, the board that he had, and his smell of old beer, an alcoholic. It was when before I go to the school, he sit and he wanted me to come and kiss him, and wanted me to sit in his lap before I go to the school, because my father have his office in our home, so he didn't need to go to his job in the morning. And so I walk into wrong man, and then then it come this way to could chat with men, single men, on internet. I had my son in 1975, and then I have my daughter 1985 with two different men. And my daughter's father, where I lived together with him in 16 years, and he was very bad. He was really only thinking about himself, and I should do his sexual thoughts, how he wanted a sexual to be, and that was against my sexuality, but I did it anyway, because he was over me, and my mother have taught me that man was like gods, that man should decide what to do with a woman, how to use a woman, man. She taught me to be a victim for a very mental sick man. That was she. But in the same way, she taught me to act and be like I should be married to a royal, and I didn't know because I didn't know our DNA ancestors, so I didn't know that my mother come from a royal line, and she didn't know that either. But in some way, she have learned how to act and talk as a royal. So she raised me to be like a royal, and that make me different from other people. So that was also hard for me to find friends, because they were all my friends, classmates. They were ordinary people. They were swearing, and they were doing those farm style, and I was raised to act like a royal, and that make me odd from other people, and in the school they mock me, and they beat me, and I was not weak, so I fight back. So I have many scars today that start to come up because I'm so old now, so the skin is thinner, and suddenly I find scars on my body that I have not seen for years. And then I remember some of the scars. I remember where they're coming from, and it's coming from when I have been fighting with other girls. And they use the nails, they're scratching, they take the hair and they scratch in the face. I have some scars in my face that I know where it's coming from. It's coming from those fights with those girls that mockery me, bully me, and I didn't accept it, so I fight back. But they always win because they have people with them. They are never alone. They have always friends, the tail with them. So they do tricks to make me fall down on the ground so that a girl that fight can sit on me and scratch my face and pull my hair and these things. And I defended those. I grew up when it's coming. I was in the school when there are coming people from Italy, from Turkey and Greek, and then it was coming people from Finland in that time, and they were always standing in the shadow because they were not allowed to be with the Swedish children, and so it's not new today. It was going on in that time also, and when they come to Sweden, those people, they live in very poor houses, and they couldn't speak Swedish. Uh, Today they learn speaking Swedish in the school and adult class, but in that time they only placed them in the industry, with a machine to work with, and they couldn't speak any Swedish. So those kids could not speak Swedish, and I was standing with them because I was bullied, mocked of those Swedish children, and I defend them because I was the only one that could speak Swedish. So I fight very much for people that not for myself but for other people, and so I think it was inside me, these things. It was already done when God placed me here on earth. And so when it was my daughter's father that break up with me because I started to say no to what he wanted me to do. So he didn't want me to be with him anymore, and he didn't want my daughter either, because he said that I have always wanted to be a bachelor. I'm not a father. I'm not a husband. I want to be alone, he said to me. And I was very happy. I couldn't break up on my own, but he break up with me, and because that I refuse to do. I come to a stop where I have to only survive from what he was doing to me. He make me be very close to come be in prison for him. So in the end, I only say, this is stop now. I can't take it anymore. But I couldn't walk away from him. It was he that say, you have to move out from here. And I, wow, thank you. I walk away. Was so happy that day. And I left my house. I have built that house, or I have make the drawing on how the house should look like, and it was a big house with 3-floor house. I walk away from. He was good in working. My daughter's father, he's a millionaire. He's very wealthy. I walk away from everything, and I was happy to walk away from it, because to stay there had killed me mentally, and in the long run it have killed my spirit. So I have been worthless for God. So it was time to go there, and I learned a very much lesson. But then I go into wrong man again, because I was thinking, I have lived 16 years with this man, and he had never wanted to marry me. And then I start to chat. First, I was thinking that I have done I have this psychology degree, and I was thinking it's time I want to move to United States. So I was to the ambassador, the United States ambassador in Stockholm, and I come in there very happy, and the security guard checked me out, and it was two girls, and they smiled at me, and I was so happy because today I should be allowed to move to United States, I was thinking, and working there as a psychology person, and then they say that I was not allowed to come into United States and work, and they say that it's only for those that have a special work professions that we don't have in the United States, that I'm allowed to work in United States. They say to me, and or else you should have, I don't know what they say, but maybe $1 million. Then I was okay to come into United States. So I was so disappointed and was on my way to cry, and I had some belongings at the security area. So I met those two girls, security girls, again, and they say, "You were so happy when you come here in the morning. What happened? What happened to you?" They say to me, and I say that I was not allowed to enter into United States and work in United States. And the girl say to me, the security guard, they say to me, "Oh, that's very simple to do." She said, "I am married to an American man, and it's only to find you an American man and move to him, and you are okay," she said. So I went home and I started to look for an American man on internet, and there was chat in that time. So I started to chat with some man, and then I found a man in Texas, and flirting, and then he said that I should come to his home in Texas. So I bought me a ticket, and I took my daughter with me, and we took a flight to Texas, and then I married an American man in Texas, in Brazoria County, and I could stay there, but he didn't help me to get the green card, because those people in the bar where he was sitting every day and let me work in United States, they said to him that if he should help me to get the green card, I should run away from him, and he believed that. And I say I am not a Russian girl. I don't come to United States because of the economy problem. We have money in Sweden, and we are not poor in Sweden. And he didn't know these things, so he believed in his friends, so he didn't help me. So I overstay in United States. I have to have a paper, a visa to could stay in United States, but I didn't have. I was illegal in United States. And then my husband make him be fired of. He had a job later on, but he be fired because he had sex with his boss, the manager for the company that he worked for. He had sex with the wife, and his manager was a pastor, and she was a pastor wife that he had sex with. But in that time, even if I didn't believe in God, I didn't know God, I was thinking I need to give him a second chance. It was something that say that to me, and so I forgive him for that. But then we couldn't stay in Texas because he had no job, and he have not helped me with a green card, so I couldn't show up with a job in United States. So we have no money, so we have to move to Sweden. So he come with me to Sweden. But what make me go away from him was that he was disabled. He have only one leg, and I help my husband to get one leg and could move around like a normal person. But when they should do the surgery on my husband, the doctors say that they have to be careful because my husband had HIV. And I didn't know I get such a shock that he have not say anything about that he had this serious in that time illness. And he died 2016 of AIDS, and I was frightened that I have got HIV, and my daughter that have been with us have got also HIV and should die, because in that time 1998 there was much deadly thing. It was no medicine, and we were thinking that a kiss could give HIV or AIDS. So I was so disappointed on everything. And when you are weak, like I have said that, when you are weak, the devil is on you. He noticed that. He know that you are weak. So I started to get very much about the devil. I dream about. I have talked about those things, so I don't want to. I have no time for to tell you in detail everything, but it was very much that I was hit by the devil in that. After that, I got this bad news from the doctor that my husband had HIV. So I was on my way to think that I have killed my daughter. She was so bright in the school. She got all kind of awards in Texas, my daughter, because she was so bright. And I was thinking that I should give my daughter a future in the United States. That was most of it was I thinking about. And then I could also work in the United States. But everything crashed. And my husband's way to deal with other women's and drugs also. He was drinking and do drugs and had addiction to women, and that make us return to Sweden. My daughter had to leave her school in Texas, and we have to move back to Sweden, and then my husband had HIV. Everything crashed, and then was the devil on me that make very horrible dreams, and he was on me, and my husband wake me up one night and he say, can you feel the smell in the room? And it smelled like wet wood, like down. If some of you have passed by or have worked with to dig a very deep hole in the ground, and you come to old wood of old houses or something, and it's wet and it smells, and it's like smells like brimstone, also brimstone, and so that was really from hell, a smell in the room. So someone come in there that smelled like that, and so it was many things like that in that time. So my husband also had his daughter coming from Texas, and she was 12 years old, but she was a premature born child, so she was 2 years old, and it was full of stress to have her there in the home, because I was working and I was a manager for those that rent houses, rent homes, and I have very much to do. And then I have this girl running around doing stupid things outside our home and with other kids, and I was full of stress. And then my husband took the flight to Texas to leave his daughter to her mother. And when he was out from home to Texas, I decided me to make a suicide. And that evening I was thinking that I should go out in the sea and killing me, like drowning. And I was waiting for my daughter to go to sleep, and then I should give her a note only. My daughter was 15 years old, and I should write a note for her that what I have done. I did that, and then I waiting for her to go to bed, but instead she felt like it was full of wind in the house. She say it was like someone caress her face and hair, and it was no windows open. It was nowhere where the wind could come from. So she and one night before I decided to make a suicide, she wake up crying, my daughter, and she say that she had some so awful dream. She dreamed that she was out from Earth. She saw our planet from far away, and she saw that it was fire on our planet, and she was crying because she was thinking that she was not able to come back to our planet because it had burning up. So she was crying and told me that, and that make my spirit be so happy. I didn't know what it was, but I be happy because she said that she have had that kind of dream. So I was happy that my daughter was so close to spirit. And I didn't know God in that time, but I felt like that, happiness. And then in the evening she said that to me, that can't we talk to this ghost that is in our home, she said. So she go on internet and check out what to do to could talk to those ghosts. We didn't know God, so we thought it was ghosts. We think I was thinking the whole time negative about what's happening in the air. I thought it was evil things in the air, like most of people think. We don't see it as a positive thing. We see those things that we don't understand. We see it as negative and not positive. So we did that, and my daughter say how we should do to could talk to the ghost. So we were so frightened, so we have the lights on in the whole home, and then we have candles on the table, lighted up, 5 candles, and then we sit and wait for something to happen. And I was on my way to give up, to wait for the ghost to come and talk to us. So I was just on my way to tell my daughter that nothing happened. We give up this. And just when I should stand up, then I saw a girl coming in the air. And I saw, she looked like an Indian girl from native American, not from India, from United States, North America. And but then I understood that I said to my daughter, I see an Indian girl. I say to my daughter, and then I say, no, it's not the Indian girl, it's me. It's me when I was 8 years old about that. It was when I got the visions from God. I say that to my daughter, and I say, I used to have braid hair. My mother did braid hair on me before I go to school. And my father used to sing, and I start to sing the song, I want to have a little girl with bright hair. I will start to sing. And suddenly I heard the voice of my father, my earthly father, and he asked me to forgive him for what he had done when I was a child. And he died when I was 17 years old, so he was talking about the real childhood. And he asked for forgiveness, and it was so much love in the air, so I could only tell him that I forgive him. And then it come 5 more spirits. I didn't see them, I only heard their voices, and all of them, but all of them say to ask me for forgive them, but then it come, the last one that come was my grandmother that come, and she talked about what I did when I come to her and visit her, and that make me laugh because I did things that I was not supposed to do. But as I was to my grandmother, my parents didn't want to tell me to stop, so I felt like I was free at my grandmother's house. And then suddenly in the room I saw there was a man in the corner of the room, and he had a white beard and white hair, and had a dress like eggshells color, not total white, eggshells color, and he had sandals on his feet. And in that time I thought it was Jesus Christ that stood in my room. But now later on the spirits have told me, and they have come in through, and I have been up to heaven and have met this kind of man, and that is a higher priest that was standing in my home, and he was talking to me about my childhood, so I be healed from my childhood. I'm talking about my childhood, but my childhood doesn't hurt me anymore because he healed me from it. And then suddenly it was like a red light suddenly, and he was disappearing. And later on I remember that he was not moving his mouth. He talked to me in telepathy, but I could see him. And then when he was gone, suddenly it came a bright voice that I recognized. I knew from this with a girl that was healed in the hospital. It was the same voice that was talking to me, and his voice was coming from nowhere. It was no direction on it. I can't tell it come from right or left side, or if it's come in front of me. The voice was only there. I am was there. I am. And he was talking to me about my future. And I was thinking what he was saying to me about my future. As I was thinking in my mind that it's impossible that I am going to do that. I am married, I live in Sweden, I have a nice job, and I have my children here. I have my comfort here. It's my country. But God said that I should go away from everything and do things in His will in the future. And I was thinking it's impossible. And then he told me who he was. And I see I run out from time again, so I have to do part 3 and tell you more what happened when God was in my room, in my home, and talking to me, and what happened after that he was talking to me when he created in me. He created my future with his words. I didn't see a body. I only heard his voice, and that voice did I hear in the hospital also when he say I should go and heal that girl. And it was the same voice, and it was not a body. He had no body. God is a spirit. So I will talk more about what God was saying and doing in part 3. God bless you.